Well, welcome guys. Welcome to Fishing for Beginners. Today we are going to learn all about a baitcaster reel and how to use it. So we've got two different baitcasters here. We're going to cover larger game, salmon and steelhead, and then we're going to cover that smaller game, bass, trout, perch, bluegill, things like that. Both baitcasters pretty much operate about the same. So when we look at a feature on the baitcaster, just know that it's going to be pretty much the same on the bigger game. The only difference really between them is the fact that the bigger game one's going to hold more line, it's going to have a heavier drag, and it's going to be able to allow tuning, which we will learn about that, to a higher level, because you might be throwing quite a bit larger piece of lead when you're fishing for larger game. Basically, we'll just go through all of the things that you should absolutely know about the baitcaster and even how to cast it, because I know that's going to be a big challenge as you learn how to use a baitcaster. So first, I guess I'm going to grab my big game one because it's got some line on it here. The first thing that you definitely need to know is how to string the line through the baitcaster. And you just got to find your loop, open up the bail on this one. It's to click this button. Other baitcasters, there's usually a button like right here. On this one here, the button is also right here. I'm sure you can find the button, but click the button to open up the bail so it'll free spool. And after it's free spooled, basically what you want to do is you're gonna need to run the line through this line guide that's gonna go back and forth on the baitcaster as we reel. So you'll just slip it through there. Oh, there we go. And pull it through just like that. And as you can see, that guy moves back and forth as line goes on and off of the reel. On the smaller game baitcaster, it's going to be the same exact principle. You can see here is the it's just round, but here's where you would run the line through, and that thing does the same exact thing, and it sweeps back and forth. I would definitely recommend to, reel this over to wherever on the spool your loop is coming off, so that when you run it on there, it's not cross-threading across the spool. That's going to be something that's going to definitely help in the end. But after you've got some line running through the line guide, you can just click forward the handle to reclose the bail. Putting the baitcaster onto the rod, the reel is going to go on the top of the rod instead of on the bottom of the rod like a spinning reel. But the principle is the same as far as our guy that connects it. We've got this two-sided metal groove, and we just simply slide one end into here, and then this other end, as we screw this down, is going to go over that secondary end, and it's going to secure the baitcaster to the rod so that the rod doesn't, so that the reel doesn't fall off of the rod. Our smaller baitcaster is going to be the exact same principles. As you can see, it's got two slip grooves. We just slide one end in there, and we just screw this down. Now let's talk about a few things on the baitcaster that you're going to need to know. So again, it's going to be the same principle depending on which baitcaster, large game or small game, and I'll still kind of show you on both of them where these things are. Number one, the baitcaster has got a star drag on it. So on our spinning reel, it's on the top of the spinning reel or sometimes on the back of the spinning reel, but it's just a twist thing. Now, on the baitcaster, most of them have a star drag. So you can see this piece of metal here that's shaped like a star. And on this one here it's a black star. So you're gonna need to either roll that forward or roll that backwards to tighten or loosen the drag on the baitcaster. Definitely an important thing to know. The other thing is our tuning. So what tuning is how easily the baitcaster lets out line as you are casting it, depending on the weight that is attached to the end of the line. That's what we're tuning, is we're trying to tune the caster to the amount of weight that we're trying to throw. Now, this is going to be one of those things that when you're first learning how to do a baitcaster, that you're probably going to snarl and tangle up line inside the spool as you're trying to cast if you don't have this ratio correct. So this is an important thing to definitely hammer down when learning a bait caster. But the tuning is just located right here. It is this on the big reel here, this silver spindle. We can just forward or back, just like the drag. It is either tightening the spool or loosening the spool. And again, so that's like I've clicked open the reel and it's letting line freely off of it, but we can control how tightly that spool spins. So if I tighten this guy all the way down, it's, you know, it definitely takes more pull to get that to come off. There's really not a guide I can tell you as far as like tuning this to your each individual lure. The best thing that I would say is to like free suspend the lure or rig that you're trying to throw from your eye, you know, not letting it touch the ground so it's just hanging. And then, you know, keep loosening your tuning or tightening your tuning until that rig or that lure is able to just kind of freely fall down to the ground, but, you know, not just free fall. You know, you want it to have at least a little bit of tension against it, but it's still enough weight that it's going to make its way to the ground. That's going to be the best tuning for that particular rig. So on this bait caster here, the big game doesn't actually have it, but the small bait caster, so you might see this on your bait caster, it's also got this tuning over here on this side. So the standard tuning is this red spindle right here, and then there's fine tuning over here. So basically when you get a good ratio with this tuning over here, this isn't even finite less or more to basically the tuning that you have set over here. That can definitely help, because this is going to be throwing something even smaller. You know, you could be throwing a crappie jig on this and it barely weighs anything, maybe a 1/16 of an ounce. So this allows you to really fine tune. The final thing that I want to cover is the casting aspect. So when you cast a bait caster, you're going to take, you know, 2 fingers underneath and get this trigger here in between so that you're holding it. And then the bait caster is generally held with the thumb. And even the big game one, it actually has a thumb groove right here so that we can hold the bait caster with our thumb, and then we've got our fingers down here on the trigger. But when we're casting it, you know, we go from this thumb position on the side of the bait caster to our thumb obviously down here on the button so that we can open the spool. You're going to want to thumb the line that is on your spool, and as you cast, you're going to want to keep that thumb still on the spool and just kind of lightly take your tension of the thumb off of it to allow it to take line out. Your thumb's going to prevent from having that nasty knotted mess in the line like we've seen in the cartoons on a bait caster. That doesn't necessarily mean that the thumb is going to always stop that from happening. It's still very important that you have the bait caster tuned to the proper size lure that you're throwing, but the thumb is going to certainly help when you are casting it. So that's pretty much the nutshell of how we run a bait caster. I hope you guys have definitely enjoyed this video. Smash that thumbs up, you know, give it a like, and maybe go and set the hook on that subscribe button. You could hit that notification bell and you could get updates on more of my videos. So until next time, guys, take care and stay fishy.